Did I miss? Or was this just regular sex in this book? Welcome to my Sunday show. I'm Vivian, and this is episode 2. And have you read Verity yet? I know I am late to the Verity party, but it's been on my list ever since someone in some Facebook group 100 years ago posted the first page of the book, and I read it. And I was like, yeah, I would have read this book even if I wasn't doing an All by Colleen Hoover challenge this year, because I've been waiting for months to get to the book, right? And I had to put blinders on because I didn't want to know anything. No spoilers, right? But you can't keep everything out. And so this is what I had heard about the book before I even went and bought the book. 2 things. One, there's a twist that you won't see coming. Cool, I like that. And 2, there's sex. And not just sex, but doing this kind of sex. So I was like, okay, Coho is getting kinky with their sex scenes, so all right. I'm prepared for whatever is about to open my eyes to a whole new world of sexy time. Fine, bring it. I'm ready. Which got me thinking about Colleen Hoover's mom and wondering if she'd read the book. And of course she's probably read the book because she's like Colleen's biggest fan. And I was like, oh my God, was Colleen mortified that her mom was reading kinky sex scenes that Colleen had written? And then that got me thinking about my mom, because my mom always said that when she retired, she was going to start writing romance novels with all kinds of sexy time. And I was like, no, please don't. And that inspired this segment. My mom was a big reader, and I don't want to say everything I learned about reading I learned from my mom, but everything I learned about reading I learned from my mom. So here are some reading lessons from my mother, the library edition. Okay, so I'm not going to talk anymore about Verity, but I can totally see why everyone has been talking about Verity. If you like suspense and a little bit of scary and a whole lot of sexy time, then you should definitely read it. I think you'll like it. I liked it. I am, however, going to talk about Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover. And quick warning, there may be spoilers in what I'm about to say. So if you don't want to know what happens in this book, look away now. Briefly, this book is about a young woman who falls madly in love with a man who refuses to love her back. How does she get into this situation, you ask? Well, she walks right into it, eyes wide open. So Tate and Miles meet each other and they're attracted to each other. And so they decide that instead of dating, they are going to have a relationship where all they do is have sex. So they agree I was going to say they agreed to be friends with benefits, but that's not even right, because Miles makes it very, very clear over and over again that they are not friends and that this is just sex, right? He's got two rules, no questions about his past and no planning for the future. And he's like really, really clear over and over and over again. But Tate is like, yeah, we're just having sex, wink, wink, right? She's like, he actually really deep down wants to be with me. Deep, deep down inside of his heart, he loves me and he knows it. And he's only pushing me away because he's just so emotionally complicated. He's not just having sex, he's making love. And he looks into my eyes and I can see all of the love beaming at me from way deep down in his heart. And yes, he keeps telling me that this is just sex and that he has no intention of ever loving me because he's really just afraid of how deeply he is actually in love with me. Hey, honey. So I read on my Kindle. And when I read something that I want to remember or that I have some kind of reaction to, I will highlight it because it may be something that I want to make a note about or explore more in depth when I write about the book in my reading journal. So in this book, I could feel myself starting to be like exasperated with Tate pretty quickly after she and Miles started making out, right? But I was more annoyed with Colleen Hoover at first because I was like, seriously, Colleen, they're just kissing, right? It can be a good kiss without the female character having to be all, I am floating in the sky and I'm flying and my legs can't support my body anymore. And I'm like, maybe this is acceptable boy crazy stuff, like if you're in junior high. But Tate is a grown woman who has presumably been kissed. And so I don't know why she can't stand up. And that was just the beginning of my reactions to Tate's behavior and her inner commentary. Welcome to Why Am I Reacting to This Character the Way That I Am? So the book is over and I sit down to write in my reading journal about it. And like, fine, I'm doing fine. I'm just filling in the basic info here, the plot, I'm all detached. And then when I'm doing the plot, that's when I'm like, can feel this like bubbling up inside of me. And I had to skip all of this here. Favorite character, favorite scenes, quotes, I had to skip it, flip to the next page and just start writing because I was like, oh man, I got things to say. So this is what I wrote. I hate these kinds of stories. I hate this trope. The bad boy, the man who can't love because of some emotional trauma in his past, and it's up to the new love of their life to help them get back in touch with their feelings. This whole idea of a woman saving a man because her love for him is just so strong, and if she just loves him enough, she can change him so that he will be capable of loving her too. No. By the way, this is why we have that saying, right? We keep telling each other, listen, sis, when someone shows you who they are, believe them. Why do we have to tell each other that? This is why we have to tell each other that. Please. If you are a woman reading this book and you are thinking it's so romantic how it was Tate's love that brought closure and emotional healing to Miles's life, and how if she hadn't have loved him so much, he would have never found love. And so thank goodness that Tate let Miles use her, even though it made her feel awful about herself all the time. Stop doing this. Stop writing books about this. Here's my thing. If a man tells you all he wants from you is sex, believe him. And if you're not a woman who can do that, walk away. You are not Tate, he is not Miles, and these stories only end well in a Colleen Hoover novel. Go spend your time and emotional energy and love on a man who wants to love you back. If a man is telling you he's not planning on ever loving you, believe that he is never planning on ever loving you. And if you are planning on him loving you someday, if you just stick around long enough, stop doing that. He's telling you what he wants and what he doesn't want. And if what he wants isn't what you want, stop giving up on what you want, hoping that someday he's going to want it too. Because if he ever does want it, he'll come and find you, right? He'll come and find you. You don't have to stick around to try and convince him that he wants what you want. You don't have to stick around and try to convince him to love you. So I suppose it could be said that Tate finally got that in her head, right? She got it, she left, she went on with her life. And then Tate went off and handled his shit by dealing with what he was feeling about the whole Rachel situation, right? Good for him. And then after he did that, he came and found Tate and they lived happily ever after, I guess, I suppose. Who knows? I have my doubts. I will say this, I'm glad that Tate had all of his emotional healing, but I would have liked to have seen that emotional healing happen over the course of like months or years, instead of like one 20-minute conversation with his ex. But I didn't write the book. My favorite character, it's not Tate. I feel like it should be Tate, but it is not. I was annoyed from her lack of self-respect from the minute that she started being all whiny about Miles. You know who I did like? Miles. I was like, this guy is like being real with her about all of this. He keeps telling her he's not going to be who she wants him to be. And he keeps trying to get her to stop and leave him alone, right? He's like so honest. But she's like, oh, no worries. I'm totally fine with you being a dick to me. But the thing is, I don't think he was being a dick, because he literally keeps saying to her, I am never going to love you. Go away if you can't accept that. What can I ask of the guy, right? Even after they have a big fight and they break up and they get back together, and she's like, okay, we're just going to have sex and you have your 2 rules. No talk about the past, no talk about the future. Well, I have a rule, don't get my hopes up. And he's like, how am I getting your hopes up? Have I ever done anything that would get your hopes up? And she's like, no, you haven't. But in her head, she's like, yes, you dick. You looked me in the eyes when we had sex. And so I know that you love me and you want to love me forever. That's what you're doing. That gives me hope. I'm like, oh my God, Tate. You need to tell him not to look you in the eyes because that is getting your hopes up. I did not enjoy Tate. I did not enjoy Tate at all. I did not enjoy Tate. The other character I did like a lot, Tap, the elevator guy, the old elevator guy, right? He's the only one I really like because he's like giving it to her hard truth. She's all crying and whiny, and he's like, Tate, you can't be mad at Miles for not thinking about you all the time and not missing you, because hello, that was not the arrangement you agreed to, right? Miles isn't going back on the agreement that you guys made, you are. And so if you have a problem with the arrangement, that's your fault and you need to deal with it. It's not Miles's problem, right? He's made it clear this is your problem. So I like Cap so much that I feel like he's a best supporting character nominee for my Biggie Awards because this dude is shelling out some good advice. So look, I am not opposed to these kinds of arrangements that Miles and Tate made, right? You want to have a sex situation with someone, that is fine. Great. But if you're not Samantha Jones, if you are not the kind of woman who can do that without getting her heart all involved and getting her hopes up, then you can't do it. Okay, I'm off my soapbox. But for the record, I hate these kinds of stories. I hate these kinds of stories in novels, and I really hate them in real life. Okay, this is 3 things I would love to talk about with my book club, or anyone else who's read this book. All right, here we go. Number 1, what do you think Tate really wanted or expected back at the beginning when she and Miles first made their arrangement? Do you think that, like, at the very beginning, she really in her mind was like, yeah, we're just doing sex? Or do you think from the beginning she was looking for love? What do you think? Number 2, in chapter 31, when Miles and Tate have that big blow up, when Tate is joking around like, oh, you missed me, and Miles is like stepping back going, whoa, wait a minute, that's not what this is. Were you surprised at Tate's reaction to the backup? And do you think her reaction was justified? Do you think it was like the right reaction? And then how about Miles's reaction to Tate's reaction? What did you think about that? And what was all that crying about at the end of the scene? Okay, and number 3. At the end of the book, Miles says something like, Tate brought me back to life. Did she? What do you think? Do you think he's right? Do you agree with him? If so, why? And if you disagree, why? So those are 3 things I would love to talk about with people who've read the book. So what do you think? If you've read the book, let me know. And let me know what you think about Tate. Do you think I was too hard on her? Do you think I wasn't hard enough? No, I think I was definitely hard enough. Was I too hard on Tate? Let me know. Let me know in the comments. Let's talk. If you agree, then you're in the right place. We read different. Thanks for watching. See you next time.